Hi everyone, the purpose of this video is to go over chapter 1, Introduction to Public Speaking. First and foremost, what are the benefits of taking a public speaking course? I'm sure you could have guessed it, you get skills in public speaking. This is important because public speaking will allow you to basically gain confidence, and you'll be able to communicate your message in an effective and efficient manner where you can actually apply it to even one-on-one communication, not just in your interpersonal life with your friends and your family, but also in your corporate life. The job market has always praised communication, because if you're able to effectively handle conflict or communicate your thoughts or represent the company well, you're going to move up pretty quick. So it's important to be able to communicate effectively. You're also going to gain confidence from public speaking. It is no secret that public speaking can be scary. In fact, there have been lots of studies that have shown that people would rather die than publicly speak. Like, they're more afraid of public speaking than death. And essentially, it is a skill to be able to get in front of individuals and communicate your message and be confident and clear and engaging. And so what you'll gain from this course is self-confidence to be able to do that and stand up in front of a crowd of individuals. But most importantly, not only will you find your voice, but you might be able to help others. So in the textbook, there's a story about how some individuals were able to give a speech to give voice to the voiceless. Another example is you may need to be an advocate for animals, right? So animals obviously can't speak for themselves. So you may need to give a speech on why we shouldn't euthanize animals, or why we should give them better living conditions. But you're going to be able to contribute to others around you by giving a voice to the voiceless if you're able to effectively speak. But in order to understand the speaking process, or to understand public speaking, we have to start at the beginning and understand what is the speech communication process. There are three main variables within this process, and it's the speaker, the listener, and the message. What you'll see is that you have a speaker on the left-hand side, and imagine the speaker is on the stage, right? And there's, a stage, and then the listener is in the audience. Well, the speaker has a message, but how is that message being communicated? That is called the channel. Is it being communicated through a video? Is it being communicated in person? Is it being communicated on audio, as a podcast? So the channel matters, right? So for example, I love listening to podcasts. Well, if I'm listening to a speaker on a podcast give a message, and they start doing something interactive with their hands, I can't see that. So it may be hard for me as a listener to interpret the message that they're trying to give. Now, there's obviously times where you're in person, because this communication process doesn't just apply to public speaking, it applies to our interpersonal communication. When we as speakers send a message, it goes, to the listener, and the listener has to interpret said message and then give a response. So for example, if the speaker says, "Hey, do you want to go get coffee?" The listener not only has to interpret the message, because how was that message sent? Was it sent via text message in all caps? Was it, in person? Did the person have tone when they said it? But let's just say the speaker said face to face the message, "I want to get coffee," to the listener, and the listener interprets the message and gives a feedback and says, "Yes, I do." They have the choice of texting it, they have the choice of emailing it, they have the choice of saying it face to face, and then that's feedback to the speaker. But what's this huge lightning bolt in the middle of the screen? That is essentially interference. So this is anything that interferes with the message effectively getting to the other party. So let's say the speaker wants to send the message via text message to the listener saying, "I want to get coffee." But the phone service is horrible, and their phone is on 0% battery or 1% battery. And right as they send that message, their phone dies, the message never gets sent. That is interference. It interfered with the message getting to the listener. This is essentially the speech communication process for not just only how we communicate with those in our daily life, but also how we present and do our public speeches. So what are your responsibilities as the speaker? The first and foremost is you have to be ethical. You cannot distort information. So you can't get up in front of 2,000 people and say, "Hey, I've done 7 hours of research on how to lose weight, and my biggest piece of advice is eat candy." It's just unethical, and you never want to distort your information. You'll lose credibility. You also have a responsibility to respect your audience. You never want to say anything that's going to be disrespectful or harming to someone's ego, mental health. You just want to always be mindful of your audience, which we will discuss that more in later chapters within this course. You also have a responsibility to reject stereotypes and scapegoats. So an example of a stereotype is when there is a bias towards an individual that's not true or just not representative of, you know, an individual entirely. So a great example is tattoos, right? An example of a stereotype might be that people who have tattoos are terrible workers. That is a stereotype because there are tons of people out there who have tattoos who are phenomenal workers, who are not lazy and are great at their jobs. That's a stereotype. A scapegoat is someone that you place blame on to get out of a situation. The example I believe that's given in the book, or at least where it was given when I was prepping for this presentation, was of Hitler putting Jews as the scapegoat. So these were individuals that he just kind of said, like, they're the reason that everything's going wrong, instead of addressing what truly was wrong. So he used the Jewish population as a scapegoat for what was really happening in the world at the time. The speaker's responsibilities are also to enrich the listeners' lives. You have a responsibility to help others and to inform them of your message. So it's important to always be mindful of not what's happening to you in a speech, but always try and think of how your speech can benefit others and make their lives better. It's also important that you take every speech seriously, even if only one listener shows up. So for example, I am doing this recorded lecture. All of you may watch it. I hope all of you watch it, but maybe only one of you watches it. I can see who watches it. But essentially, I have a responsibility as an instructor to take this seriously, right? I could come on here and do one take. Little do you know, I've probably done 3 or 4 takes of this to make sure that my message is clear, I'm saying everything correct, I don't stumble. And so it's important that you take everything that you say seriously, because you just never know how it's going to impact someone. And like I said, you have the opportunity to make someone's life better. So why wouldn't you take it seriously? And just a quick guide to public speaking. I'm going to try and run through these pretty quick because obviously there's going to be multiple chapters on them, but just a quick overview of what does public speaking entail. The first part is preparation. So we need to be mindful of our audience members. So who we're talking to. What is our topic? Is it an informative speech, a persuasive speech, a special occasion speech? What are we discussing within each of those? And what is our main idea or central purpose of the speech? Like, what is our main goal with presenting? And how are we trying to help other people? Another part of the preparation is finding materials, which I'll discuss on like the most effective ways to find credible resources, not TikTok, not just some random BuzzFeed post, but credible resources. How do we then organize them? And then how do we transition between our thoughts to effectively communicate our message? Every speech in our outline, which we'll discuss outlines later on in another chapter, is you need an introduction, a conclusion, and ultimately an outline. Your outline is going to be your bread and butter, where you're essentially going to be able to brainstorm, go through all of your thoughts before actually getting up and presenting in front of a group of individuals. To prepare, you also may or may not want to use speaking notes. I personally like speaking notes, and what I like to do is I like to practice and practice and practice to the point that I don't need the speaking notes anymore. But obviously, that's the other part of preparation, which is practicing. The second kind of caveat besides preparation to public speaking is your delivery. So like I said, a benefit of public speaking is you're going to gain self-confidence, but you have to be able to communicate self-confidence. There have been many times that I have been so deathly afraid to get up on stage, or I've been unbelievably nervous, and looking back, you wouldn't be able to tell because I was able to communicate self-confidence through my nonverbals. We're going to practice approach and how to even get into the beginning of a speech. How do you walk up to a speech? Again, body language, but also not just body language, but eye contact. And how do we paint a picture That is a key kind of phrase that we'll discuss throughout the semester. But when I say we paint pictures, the we part is to how we verbally present. The paint is how we paint the room with our eyes. And then pictures is the storytelling aspect to public speaking. So eye contact is a part of the 3 key main words of we paint pictures, which, like I said, we'll discuss more throughout the semester. Delivery, again, it's important to understand speaking rate. Are you speaking so fast that nobody can understand you and you are on like 2 times X speed? Or are you talking so slow that the tortoise behind on the street is going to make it to the end of the road by the time I get done with the speech? You want to have a good speaking rate. And then also, how expressive are you? Are you monotone? Are you where you are just talking like this the whole time and you have no facial expression? You don't want to do that. So you need expressions with your face. Again, it's all just nonverbals and delivery. And then you need clarity and volume. You don't want to be speaking so loud that you're up here. You want to be able to sound confident, and Vocalics can really help you sound confident. Your gestures and body movement matter, your posture and poise. Are you hunched over? Are your shoulders too far back? How are you positioned? And then your use of notes. Are you using notes up to your face like this to where I can't even see your mouth or your face? Or are they down here and I still am not getting eye contact from you? Where are your notes? How enthused are you? Again, this is Vocalics. And then how do you end and leave your speech really matters as well. So what are some tips for your career with public speaking? When you give feedback, or when you are publicly speaking, it's important to seek feedback, which we will do throughout this course and I will encourage as well. But you want to get critiques from other people. You're going to want to use evaluation forms where you ask people to just rate you. There are a lot of evaluation forms that are available. Some will be provided through this course and some will be, you can find on your own. You're going to get a group of listeners. So for this course, you will have to have a group of individuals who watch you present, and they can give you feedback as well. But then you can also watch videos of yourself, and you can record yourself and go back and watch yourself, which is kind of uncomfortable. But remember, that's the point of this course, is to get comfortable being uncomfortable. So record yourself, watch the video back, and then critique yourself. You're going to be your harshest critic, but you're going to pick up on more things that are wrong than the average person would. So that is another great way to seek feedback and get better at public speaking. Another tip is to avoid the 5 biggest mistakes with public speaking. So mistake number 1 is failing to tailor a speech to an audience's needs or interests. So for example, let's say I just got told I was going to be presenting to 2,000 individuals from high school ranging in the age of 15 to 18. And I decide that I'm going to present on the benefits of a retirement plan through AARP. I don't think that my audience members will want to hear that speech, right? So that would be a huge mistake on my end. And I would essentially be failing to tailor my speech to an audience member's needs or interests. The second biggest mistake that I see with public speakers is using PowerPoints ineffectively. So what they may do is they may use it as a crutch. As you've noticed throughout this video, there are not a lot of words or context on the screen. And so it's important that you hop on, listen to the video, because this is not a standalone deck. A standalone deck is basically where you could just pull up the PowerPoints and you wouldn't have to watch this video to understand what's trying to be communicated. You would just get it all from the PowerPoint. You want it to be a deck where you need some explanation with it. So you don't want to use your PowerPoint as a crutch. And that would be the second biggest mistake that I see with public speakers. The other thing is that they are speaking too long and they ramble and ramble and ramble and they get off topic. It would be really annoying if at the end of this video, I just started rambling about how I'm going to take a trip to Colorado in a few months and all the things that I wanted to get done. It's deceptive. You pulled up this video and you might have said, oh, this is only a 10 to 15 minute video, or thought that it was a 10 to 15 minute video, but then I rambled for 17 or, the majority of it. So you don't want it to be too long or deceptive. People are going to get bored. So make sure that your message is quick, clear, and concise to the point. The fourth biggest mistake is being poorly prepared. It is always very apparent when people haven't prepared for a speech. They're stumbling over their notes. They don't know what the next slide is. You don't want that to happen because A, you lose credibility, B, you lose the attention of the speaker, and C, you're doing a disservice to the speaker because you're wasting their time. So the fourth biggest mistake is being poorly prepared. And then finally, the fifth biggest mistake is being dull. And you're going to be able to combat this with delivery and mindfulness of your audience members and gaining that self-confidence throughout the remainder of the course. And with that being said, I hope that you now understand the benefits of public speaking. I hope that you have seen that the speech process has a lot of factors involved in it and that things that we need to be mindful of moving forward. But I also hope that you keep in mind these 5 biggest mistakes that people make when publicly speaking as we walk through the remainder of the chapters in this course. And with that being said, I'm going to sign off, and I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and please email me if you have any questions. Have a great day.